good afternoon, everyone. We're going to go ahead and begin today's webinar. I'd like to welcome everyone on behalf of the Iowa Valley Water Sanitation Commission. My name is Richard Harrison, and I'm the Commission's Executive Director. With me today, helping present, is Jason Heath, our Director of Technical Programs. I'm going to cover the first few slides, giving a background on ORSANCO, really how we reached this point of the 2018 Pollution Control Standards review process, provide some information about the Commission, and then I'll be turning it over to Mr. Heath to cover the details of the second public notice period, public comment period. So I'd like to, again, just talk a little bit about the purpose of this public review. I'll be covering it more from a broad standpoint. The Commission reviews its pollution control standards with the goal of at least every 3 years. I want to talk a little bit about this specific review because it's a little different than our past reviews have been. Periodically, the Commission steps back and conducts an in-depth review of its role in water quality standards implementation. And this is done through its Pollution Control Standards program for the Ohio River. We also look at our other programs. The purpose of these programmatic reviews are to help ensure that the Commission's limited resources are utilized in the most effective and cost-efficient manner on behalf of our numerous partners. I want to point out that today's discussion of our pollution control standards, for this discussion, the standards apply only to the Ohio River and are implemented by our main stem state partners through their oversight of the NPDES program, which is the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System program. This is also done through the oversight of the U.S. EPA. ORSANCO's process includes a very rigorous and transparent program as we conduct our review. We include two 45-day comment periods. We just completed the first comment period, and we're in the midst of our second comment period. We'll also have a public hearing. Again, Mr. Heath will go into the details of the current review process, but I just wanted to step back and, again, give an overview. The purpose of this review is to solicit input from the public on proposed specific revisions to the pollution control standards for discharges to the Ohio River, the 2015 revision, which is the current vision that's in effect as we speak today. So as we continue to discuss the program, I just wanted to give a little bit of background on who ORSANCO is. ORSANCO was formed in 1948 through the signing of a compact by the governors of 8 states, and it was approved by the U.S. Congress. Our state members include Indiana, Illinois, Kentucky, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Virginia, and West Virginia. And then we also have representation from the federal government. We have a 27-member, if you will, board of directors. These include 3 commissioners from each state and 3 federal commissioners. And again, this forms our policy board, and these are the decision makers for the commission. The compact is the guiding document that provides ORSANCO's mission and authorities. And the broad mission is the control of interstate water pollution within the compact district. Just want to talk a little bit about some of our program areas. Again, as I mentioned earlier, this is just one of our programs, and we do try to take holistic reviews of all of our program areas to make sure that we're being efficient and effective. The current program we're discussing is a regulatory program that establishes Ohio River pollution control standards. We also have a robust water quality monitoring and assessment program. We have a very engaged source water protection program that includes spill detection and response, monitoring, communications, We respond to numerous spills on behalf of our water utilities that utilize the Ohio River as a drinking water source. We also, through this program, work on HABs monitoring and response associated with HABs on the Ohio River. We also have a Clean Water Act and Safe Drinking Water Act coordination and implementation programs. This involves facilitation of TMDLs, working with the states through their NPDES program, again, broadly towards water protection and other areas. We're very engaged in applied research, such as looking at pharmaceuticals, mercury, other studies that we've conducted through the years. And then we have a public involvement program where we work with volunteer monitoring of the Ohio River Sweep, which was just recently completed, and our Life Below the Waterline mobile aquarium. We also try to provide a lot of information about ORSANCO through social media and other communications through our webpage. I want to provide a little background on how we reached this point in this current 2018 review. This has been a lengthy and transparent review. It really began through an appointment of an ad hoc committee in June of 2015. This committee worked together to develop 5 alternatives for consideration. And again, these are alternatives looking holistically at our role in water quality standards. Many of our other reviews have centered on specific standards and specific criteria. This is a wholesale review of our program. So the 5 alternatives that were developed really range from eliminating the entire program and really focusing on the Clean Water Act to really enhancing the current program. So there were really alternatives that covered all different ranges. These alternatives were distributed for comment to our Commission's advisory committees and tech. The Commission has a number of committees that help us implement our programs, and so we did receive a lot of input from our committees. And then the ad hoc committee ultimately recommended a preferred alternative to the Commission. This alternative also included a minority report, again, to really allow the public to understand what the Commission is thinking and the work that we've completed regarding this review. And then all of this information was provided in the initial public review that was conducted between January 10th and February 24th earlier this year. I want to add that all of this information is still available on the Commission's PCS webpage. There is a link towards the bottom of the page that will take you through all of that documentation in case you have any questions about the initial review. I did want to stress that this is simply the initiation of the second phase of the review process. No decision has been made by the Commission. The earliest the final decision will be made regarding the Commission's role in pollution control standards will be at its October 4th, 2018 Commission meeting in Lansing, West Virginia. And the Commission is committed to continued cooperation and collaboration on our state and federal water quality standards programs for the Ohio River. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Heath to go through the details of today's webinar and really to go through the specifics about the current proposal that is out for comment. Jason?
Thank you, Richard. Following this presentation, which should only last 10 or 15 minutes or so, we will open it up for question and answer by folks on the phone. Currently, all participants are muted. I think with the number of folks that are on the line, we can probably unmute everyone after we're done with the presentation and open it for questions. Alternatively, you can type a question into the public chat. If you do so, we will answer that question. The purpose of this is for information and for question and answer. We are not taking formal comment. during this webinar. We are taking formal comment throughout this whole public review, which began on June 10th and will culminate on, was June 26th, will culminate on August 10th. But we would like to receive those comments through our PCS mailbox. That's probably our preferred method, but we will also take written comments through the mail, and I'll provide that information at the end. Comments need to be submitted by August 10th at midnight. So during the initial public review that we held earlier in the year, we received comments as follows. We had 783. I refer to them as third-party comments. They came rather than directly from an individual's email. They came through a third-party website to us, and those emails were not in favor of alternative number 2. That's the alternative by which we are currently proposing the revisions that I'll talk about shortly. There were also 14 detailed comments from entities that were not in favor of alternative number 2. And then there were 17 detailed comments from entities that were in favor of the alternative number 2. Again, the alternative number 2 is what we're proposing is loosely based on that alternative number 2. All of the information, all of the comments that we had received are currently on our website. If you go down towards the bottom of the Police Patrol Standards website, you'll see a place where you can click on resource materials from the initial public comment period. All the comments and all the other resource materials from the initial review can be found there. So we are currently in the second public review. That on June 7th, the Commission at their regularly scheduled meeting voted to proceed with a second public review, which we are currently in. There are specific revisions being proposed to the standards at this time, and those specific revisions are on our website. The comment period commenced on June 26th, and it goes through August 10th. There will be a hearing, a formal hearing on July 26th at 6 p.m. at the Cincinnati Airport Holiday Inn. Please feel free to attend. We will be taking formal testimony or comments from the public at that time. In addition to the webinar today, there will be another webinar on July 19th. That's next Thursday at 6 p.m. So the next two slides, I just took a screen capture of what the table of contents from the 2015 standards looked like, and then what the proposed table of contents will look like. And then I'll go through a little more specifically what those specific revisions are. But as you can see from this, there are five chapters and also an appendice. And so if we move on to the next slide, it shows what the table of contents will look like for the proposed standards. What you will notice if I go back to the 2015 standards, which are what our current standards are, Chapter 3, water quality criteria, and Chapter 4, mixing zone designation. Both of those chapters will have been eliminated. Chapter 5 on wastewater discharge requirements has been modified substantially to mirror the language that is in our compact, which is our ORSANCO's official guiding document. And then there were some other more minor changes in the general provisions section. So that is, this is what the proposed table of contents will look like, and now I'll go specifically through. Let me point out that on the website there are two versions of the proposed standards. There's a red line version, which will show you what was deleted and what has been added, so that you can look at that. And then also there is a clean version, which is what it will look like should those proposed revisions be advanced. So with that, the proposed revisions under authority and purpose language, that has been modified. I won't go through the specifics of the modification. There was quite a bit of language that was deleted and quite a bit that was added. I encourage you to go look at the red line version of the standards to see exactly what those changes were. Under the definitions section, we simply, based on what the proposed revisions are, we just removed definitions that no longer were applicable, and then just retained the ones, the definitions that are still found somewhere in the proposed document. The general conditions section is being revised to be consistent with the language in the compact, and again, I would recommend that you go through the red line version to see exactly what those changes are. The section on variances was removed completely. The section on site-specific criteria was also removed completely. Designated uses chapter was modified significantly. The Chapter 3, water quality criteria, has been completely removed. The mixing zone chapter has also been completely removed. The wastewater discharge requirements chapter has been modified significantly to reflect the language in the compact, and then all of the appendices have been removed. So that, in a very broad nutshell, are the proposed changes. And again, I would recommend that you go to the red line version, and it spells out completely every single change, addition and deletion. So in making public notice for this second public review, we sent out, the notice of hearing was sent to 197 media outlets. There were over 3,000 emails sent to citizens and ORSANCO affiliates through an email distribution list that we have, and then there were over 700 postcards sent to the direct discharges to the Ohio River. We do have a website established to support this review, and you can see the address for the website there. And again, at the bottom of that website, all the materials as well as the comments that we received during the initial review are available at the bottom of that website, in addition to the current 2015 standard. So the schedule moving forward, we announced this public review on June 26th. Again, today's webinar, and there will be another one next Thursday at 6 p.m. Please feel free to attend it. The hearing on July 26th at 6 p.m. is being held at Cincinnati Airport Holiday Inn. The address is on our website as well. We will be accepting public comment either at the hearing or by email or by regular mail through midnight August 10th. And then the Commission may consider future action at its next regularly scheduled meeting, which will be held on October 4th in Lansing, West Virginia. Later, there will be, agendas for that meeting, and all the meeting details will be on our website as they are developed. So, how to make comment? Again, by midnight, August 10th. Instructions on submitting those comments are on our website, but basically send us an email with your comments. Please, in the body of the email, we don't want to receive attachments just for systems, our data systems integrity. But you can email to pcs@orsanco.org, or again, you can mail hard copy to ORSANCO at 5735 Kellogg Ave, Cincinnati, 45230. Much easier for us to manage emailed comments, but we're willing to accept comments either way, or verbally at the hearing. Again, today's comments will not be part of the official record, so please submit your comments in order to get them onto the official record. And again, there's the website with address with all of the resource materials. And with that, I think what we will do